Everybody fears him until someone finally stops pretending. The dinner plate hit the white tablecloth with a sharp crash that silenced the entire restaurant. Red sauce splashed across a $1,000 suit, while crystal glasses rattled beneath the chandelier light. For one frozen second, nobody breathed. Not the customers. Not the servers. Not even the piano player near the marble staircase. Marcus Blackwood slowly looked down at the stain spreading across his charcoal jacket. Then he lifted his eyes toward the waitress standing in front of him. Calm. Motionless. Unapologetic. Across the dining room, one employee whispered under his breath. She is dead. 3 hours earlier, Manhattan had been drowning beneath cold October rain. Yellow taxi lights reflected across wet sidewalks while people hurried through the storm with collars raised and eyes lowered. Inside Le Bernard, the atmosphere felt different. Warmer. Softer. Expensive laughter floated beneath golden lights while wine glasses clinked against polished silver. Anna Whitmore tied the strings of her black apron behind her waist and adjusted the small silver necklace resting near her collarbone. Her reflection stared back from the service station mirror. Pale blue eyes. Tired expression. Controlled silence. Marcus Blackwood reserved table 12 again, Sarah whispered while folding napkins beside her. The older waitress lowered her voice instinctively. Even saying his name felt dangerous. Wonderful, Anna replied without emotion. Sarah looked toward the entrance nervously. I mean it, Anna. Be careful tonight. Anna picked up 2 menus calmly. He is just a customer. Sarah almost laughed at the statement. No. He is the reason 3 servers quit last month. Near the kitchen entrance, another employee accidentally dropped a spoon onto the marble floor. The sharp sound instantly made several staff members glance toward the front doors even though Marcus had not arrived yet. Fear already lived inside the building before he walked in. Anna noticed everything quietly while pretending not to. The nervous hands. The forced smiles. The way managers straightened their ties whenever his reservation appeared on the schedule. Marcus Blackwood owned investment firms, luxury hotels, and enough Manhattan property to make headlines every month. But inside restaurants like this, his reputation mattered more than his money. He was known for humiliating employees publicly over the smallest mistakes. Wrong wine temperature. Slow service. Overcooked steak. People said he enjoyed watching others panic around him. Anna never understood people who mistook cruelty for power. You are quiet tonight, Sarah observed carefully. Anna grabbed a tray from the counter. I am working. No, Sarah said softly. You are thinking. Before Anna could answer, the front doors opened. Cold wind swept briefly through the restaurant as Marcus Blackwood stepped inside wearing a dark overcoat still marked by rain. Conversations shifted immediately. Even wealthy guests turned subtly to look at him. He carried the kind of presence that changed rooms without trying. Tall. Controlled. Sharp gray eyes that missed nothing. Marcus handed his coat to the hostess without speaking. His expensive watch caught the chandelier light as he adjusted his cuff slowly. Then his gaze moved across the dining room and landed directly on Anna Whitmore. Something unreadable flickered across his face for half a second. Recognition, perhaps. Curiosity, maybe. Anna held his gaze calmly before looking away first. The hostess cleared her throat nervously. Your usual table is ready, Mr. Blackwood. Marcus did not answer immediately. He was still watching the waitress near the service station. I prefer the corner booth tonight, he said quietly. The hostess blinked once. The corner booth belonged to Anna's section. Sarah looked horrified. Anna simply picked up 2 menus and started walking. Somewhere outside, thunder rolled across Manhattan while rain struck the tall windows in restless waves. And deep inside the restaurant, nobody realized the quiet waitress walking toward table 12 was about to become the only person in years willing to stand against Marcus Blackwood. Anna Whitmore had learned long ago that silence made people underestimate you. That was why she rarely corrected customers when they assumed she was uneducated. Why she smiled politely when wealthy businessmen snapped their fingers instead of using her name. Why she kept her shoulders relaxed and her voice soft even during 12-hour shifts beneath the golden lights of Le Bernard. Quiet people survived longer in places built on ego. She moved through the crowded restaurant with practiced grace while balancing a silver tray against one hand. Around her, expensive conversations floated through the air like background music. stock prices, vacation homes in Aspen, charity galas attended mostly for photographs instead of kindness. Anna listened to all of it without truly hearing any of it. Table 6 needs another bottle, Sarah called from behind the bar. Anna nodded once before reaching for the wine opener tucked neatly into her apron pocket. The older waitress watched her carefully for a moment. You really are not nervous about tonight? Anna glanced over briefly. Should I be? Sarah lowered her voice instinctively. Marcus Blackwood made a server cry 2 weeks ago because the sparkling water was not cold enough. Anna continued polishing the wine glass in her hand. Then perhaps the water should have worn a winter coat. Sarah blinked before laughing quietly under her breath. You are strange, Anna. I have been called worse. The restaurant doors opened again as another wave of rain tapped against the windows outside. Wealthy guests entered wrapped in designer coats while valets hurried through the storm carrying umbrellas over polished shoes worth more than monthly rent. Anna watched them without envy. She had stopped envying rich people years ago. Most of them looked exhausted beneath their expensive smiles anyway. Near the kitchen entrance, a young busboy named Ethan struggled nervously, while stacking clean glasses onto a tray almost too heavy for his shaking hands. He could not have been older than 19. Anna stepped beside him quietly. Too much weight on one side, she said gently. Ethan adjusted the tray immediately. Sorry. Stop apologizing for existing, Anna replied softly before walking away. Ethan stared after her for a second with surprised gratitude in his eyes. Small kindnesses mattered inside places where dignity disappeared quickly. The kitchen door swung open behind her as the manager stormed across the floor fixing his tie anxiously. Everybody stay sharp tonight, he warned under his breath. No mistakes. Anna did not look up from arranging silverware. You say that every night. Not like this. His eyes shifted toward the entrance nervously again. Blackwood spends more money here in a month than some customers spend all year. Anna slid the final fork precisely into place beside a folded napkin. That still does not make him royalty. The manager stared at her in disbelief. You really do not understand who this man is. No, Anna thought quietly. Men like Marcus Blackwood were exactly the kind she understood best. Powerful enough to mistake fear for respect. Wealthy enough to believe consequences belonged only to other people. The thought darkened her expression briefly before she forced it away again. Outside, thunder rolled softly above Manhattan while headlights reflected across rain-soaked streets. Anna checked the old silver watch on her wrist. 10:43. Her younger brother would already be asleep back in Chicago before his early construction shift tomorrow morning. She still sent him money every month even when it meant skipping meals herself. Family survived together or not at all. Anna, Sarah whispered suddenly. The tone in her voice changed everything. Conversations softened near the entrance. Employees straightened instinctively. Even the piano player glanced toward the front doors. Marcus Blackwood had arrived. Anna slowly lifted her eyes across the restaurant for the first time that evening. Tall. Dark overcoat. Controlled posture. Cold gray eyes scanning the room with the detached calm of a man used to being feared. Rainwater still glistened faintly against his shoulders beneath the chandelier light. For one brief second, Marcus Blackwood looked directly at Anna Whitmore. And somehow, without speaking a single word, both of them immediately understood the other was not impressed. Marcus Blackwood did not smile when Anna Whitmore approached his table. Most wealthy men in Manhattan performed politeness the same way actors performed confidence. Expensive. Practiced. Empty. Marcus skipped the performance entirely. He sat beneath the chandelier light with one hand resting beside a crystal glass of water, while rain traced slow patterns across the windows behind him. Anna placed the menus carefully onto the white tablecloth. Good evening, she said professionally. Would you like a few minutes before ordering? Marcus looked up at her fully now. Gray eyes. Sharp. Observant. The kind that made people nervous because they seemed to notice weakness immediately. You are new, he said flatly. Anna did not react. I have worked here 11 months. Something flickered briefly across his expression. Not embarrassment. Calculation. As if he disliked being wrong even about small things. Still water, he said finally. No ice. Anna nodded once and turned toward the service station. Behind her, She could already feel employees watching the interaction nervously. Marcus Blackwood rarely spoke politely to staff. Usually, dinner with him felt less like hospitality and more like surviving an interrogation. Sarah intercepted Anna near the wine counter. "How bad?" she whispered. Anna reached for the water bottle calmly. "He requested hydration. We survived." Sarah almost smiled before quickly stopping herself. "Seriously, Anna?" Anna glanced toward table 12 again. Marcus had already removed his watch and placed it beside the plate with precise control. Even sitting alone, he looked intimidating somehow, like a man permanently prepared for conflict. "He looks tired," Anna said quietly. Sarah stared at her in disbelief. "That is what you notice?" Anna carried the bottle back toward the table without answering. She poured the water slowly while Marcus reviewed financial documents on his phone. Numbers reflected faintly across the sharp lines of his face beneath the restaurant lights. "You always work while eating?" Anna asked before thinking. Marcus looked up immediately. Most servers avoided casual conversation with him entirely. "You always question customers?" Anna finished pouring the water and placed the bottle down gently. "Only the ones who look like they forgot what dinner tastes like." For one brief second, silence stretched between them. Then Marcus leaned back slightly in his chair. "Interesting answer." Anna reached for her order pad. "Would you like more time?" "No." Marcus closed the phone screen and looked directly at her again. "Ribeye. Medium rare. Truffle potatoes. Black coffee." Anna wrote the order quickly. "Anything else?" Marcus studied her face carefully now. "Most people avoid eye contact with me." Anna slid the pen back into her apron pocket. "Most people are trying to keep their jobs." A faint sound escaped him then. Not quite laughter. More surprise than amusement. Across the room, Sarah nearly dropped a glass watching the exchange. Marcus Blackwood did not react well when challenged. Yet somehow Anna Whitmore stood beside his table speaking to him like he was simply another customer ordering dinner after work. "And you are not worried?" Marcus asked quietly. Anna met his gaze calmly. "Should I be?" The question lingered longer than expected. Marcus watched her closely while soft piano music drifted through the restaurant. For the first time all evening, he seemed less interested in his phone than the woman standing beside the table. Anna noticed it immediately and disliked it. Wealthy men became curious the same way storms formed over the ocean. Quietly first. Then all at once. Before Marcus could speak again, a loud crash exploded near the kitchen entrance. Crystal shattered across the marble floor. The entire dining room turned instantly. Ethan stood frozen beside an overturned tray of wine glasses, his face drained of color. Red wine spread across the polished floor while terrified silence filled the restaurant. The manager rushed forward immediately. "What did you do?" he hissed sharply. Ethan tried speaking but panic caught inside his throat first. "I am sorry," he whispered. "I slipped." Several customers sighed with annoyance while nearby employees looked away helplessly. Anna's expression darkened slightly. Marcus remained silent at the table, observing everything carefully. Ethan dropped to his knees trying to clean the broken glass with shaking hands while the manager continued scolding him under his breath. "Do you realize how expensive this is?" Ethan nodded quickly, humiliation burning visibly across his face now. And somewhere deep inside Anna Whitmore, something old and painful began waking up quietly beneath the calm. The sound of breaking glass still echoed faintly through the restaurant even after the last crystal piece stopped sliding across the marble floor. Ethan remained frozen on his knees beside the spilled wine, his trembling hands hovering uncertainly above the mess as though touching it might somehow make everything worse. Around him, expensive diners stared with open irritation. A woman near the window lifted her feet dramatically away from the spreading wine while whispering complaints to her husband. The manager's face had already turned red with anger. "Do you have any idea how much those glasses cost?" he snapped under his breath. Ethan swallowed hard. "I am sorry, sir." Sorry does not replace imported crystal. The young busboy lowered his head immediately. Humiliation settled over him visibly now, heavy and familiar. Anna Whitmore watched the scene quietly from beside table 12 while Marcus Blackwood observed everything without speaking. Rain tapped softly against the tall windows behind him. "Get up," the manager hissed sharply at Ethan. And clean this before someone slips. Ethan reached for a napkin too quickly. His shaking hand knocked a second glass sideways off the tray. It shattered instantly beside him. Several customers groaned in annoyance. One man near the center tables laughed openly. Maybe the kid should work somewhere less complicated, he muttered loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. A few people smiled awkwardly. Ethan's face drained completely of color. Anna felt something tighten sharply inside her chest. She knew that expression too well. The desperate look people wore when they realized public embarrassment was becoming entertainment for strangers. The manager rubbed his forehead furiously. What is wrong with you tonight? Ethan stared at the broken glass near his shoes. My mother is in the hospital, he admitted quietly. I picked up extra shifts. The manager exhaled impatiently. Everyone has problems. Marcus remained silent at his table, fingers resting beside his untouched water glass. His expression revealed nothing. The wealthy customer near the center tables leaned back in his chair with a smirk. Maybe hospitals are safer than restaurants for him. A few uncomfortable laughs spread softly through the dining room again. Anna slowly turned toward the man speaking. Mid-50s. Expensive navy suit. Gold cufflinks. The type who mistook cruelty for confidence because nobody challenged him often enough. She recognized the type immediately. Sir, Anna said calmly, I would appreciate it if you stopped. The man looked genuinely surprised that a waitress had spoken to him directly. Excuse me. Anna kept her voice even. He is trying his best. The customer scoffed. Then his best is terrible. Ethan lowered his eyes further while nearby employees pretended not to hear any of it. Nobody wanted involvement. Not with wealthy customers. Not with management watching nervously from the corner. Marcus Blackwood's gaze shifted slowly toward Anna now. Interested. Careful. Almost waiting. Anna picked up the fresh dinner plate resting beneath the warming lights beside the kitchen entrance. Steam curled softly upward from the steak while the restaurant fell gradually quieter around her. Sarah noticed the expression on Anna's face instantly. Anna, she whispered nervously. But Anna kept walking. Slow steps across polished marble. Calm posture. Silence following her like approaching thunder. The rude customer smirked when she stopped beside his table. Finally, he muttered. Someone competent. Anna looked down at him for one long second. Then she tilted the plate gently forward. The entire steak slid directly into the man's lap along with a flood of dark sauce across his expensive suit. Gasps exploded around the restaurant. A woman near the bar actually stood up in shock. The customer jumped to his feet immediately. What is wrong with you? He shouted. Anna remained perfectly still beneath the chandelier light, empty tray resting calmly against her side. Now, she said softly, you finally have a real reason to complain. Every employee in the restaurant froze. Ethan stared in disbelief. Sarah covered her mouth with both hands. The manager looked seconds away from collapsing entirely. And across the dining room, Marcus Blackwood slowly placed his glass down onto the table without taking his eyes off Anna Whitmore for even a second. For one long second after the steak landed in the customer's lap, the entire restaurant stopped moving. Even the soft piano near the staircase fell silent beneath the weight of what had just happened. The wealthy man stared down at the dark sauce covering his expensive navy suit while shock spread slowly across his face. Then came the anger. Are you insane? He shouted as he jumped to his feet. Several guests turned immediately. A woman near the windows covered her mouth in disbelief, while another customer quietly reached for his phone beneath the table. Anna Whitmore stood perfectly still beside him, the empty silver tray resting calmly against her side. Not defensive. Not apologetic. Just calm. Somehow that made the moment feel even louder. You ruined my suit, the man snapped. Anna looked at him evenly beneath the chandelier light. You were already ruining something more important. The customer stared at her as though unable to process what he had just heard. Do you have any idea who I am? Anna's expression never changed. A grown man humiliating a teenager in public. Gasps spread softly through the dining room again. Near the kitchen entrance, Ethan looked frozen beside the broken wine glasses still scattered across the marble floor. His hands trembled visibly now, though he no longer seemed afraid of the manager. He looked afraid for Anna instead. The manager rushed forward immediately, nearly slipping on the spilled wine in his panic. "Miss Whitmore," he whispered harshly. "What are you doing?" Anna did not look away from the customer, stopping him. "You are fired," the customer barked loudly. Immediately, the manager opened his mouth nervously but hesitated before speaking, because across the restaurant Marcus Blackwood had not moved once. He remained seated at table 12 with one hand resting beside his untouched water glass, gray eyes fixed entirely on Anna Whitmore. Watching, thinking. The angry customer noticed it too and pointed toward Marcus immediately. "Blackwood," he snapped. "Say something." Marcus finally leaned back slightly in his chair. Calm, controlled, dangerous in the quietest possible way. "What exactly would you like me to say?" The customer blinked in disbelief. "This waitress just assaulted me." Marcus glanced briefly at the stain across the expensive suit before returning his eyes toward the man's face. "No," he said quietly. "She embarrassed you." Silence crashed through the restaurant again. The customer laughed sharply. "You cannot be serious." Marcus slowly stood from his seat now. Conversations disappeared entirely around the room. Even the manager stepped backward instinctively. Marcus Blackwood carried the kind of presence that made people nervous without raising his voice. "You spent 10 minutes mocking a 19-year-old employee because he dropped a tray," Marcus said calmly. "Now you are upset because someone finally treated you with the same level of respect." The customer's face reddened instantly. "This place survives because people like us spend money here." Marcus adjusted the cuff of his charcoal jacket slowly. "No," he replied. "This place survives because people like her show up every day and tolerate people like you." The words landed harder than shouting ever could. Anna looked toward Marcus briefly, surprised despite herself. She had expected arrogance. Maybe amusement. Not this. The customer grabbed his coat furiously from the chair. "I will never come back here again." Marcus reached into his pocket and placed several folded bills onto the nearest table without taking his eyes off the man. "That may be the first generous thing you have done all evening." A nervous sound escaped someone near the bar. Almost laughter. The customer looked around the restaurant one final time before storming toward the exit beneath dozens of silent stares. Rain and cold wind rushed briefly inside as the doors slammed behind him. Nobody moved afterward. Ethan still stood frozen near the broken glass while the manager looked completely speechless. Anna slowly set the empty tray down beside the service station and exhaled quietly for the first time since the confrontation began. Then Marcus Blackwood turned fully toward her beneath the golden chandelier light and said the one thing nobody in the restaurant expected to hear. "Sit down, Miss Whitmore." Nobody inside Le Bernard moved after Marcus Blackwood spoke. The sentence itself had been simple, calm, controlled. But hearing the most feared customer in Manhattan ask a waitress to sit with him felt almost unreal beneath the chandelier lights. Anna Whitmore remained standing near the service station, one hand resting lightly against the empty silver tray while dozens of eyes stayed fixed on her. Even the piano player had stopped again. "Excuse me," the manager whispered nervously, unsure whether he had heard correctly. Marcus never looked away from Anna. "I said sit down." The tone in his voice carried no anger now. Somehow that unsettled the room even more. Anna studied him carefully across the dining room. Gray eyes, expensive suit, absolute composure. Men like Marcus Blackwood usually reacted to humiliation with ego, with threats, with punishment. But Marcus looked almost thoughtful instead. That was harder to trust. "I still have tables to serve," Anna replied quietly. Marcus glanced briefly toward the untouched steak cooling beside his wine glass. "They can wait 5 minutes." Several employees exchanged nervous looks immediately. Nobody told Marcus Blackwood no twice. Anna knew that too. Yet something stubborn inside her refused to move simply because a wealthy man expected obedience. "I am working," she said evenly. Marcus leaned back slightly in his chair. "And I am asking politely." Sarah nearly choked beside the wine counter. Politely. Nobody had ever used that word and Marcus Blackwood in the same sentence before. Anna noticed the reaction around the restaurant immediately. Fear. Confusion. Curiosity. It reminded her how power worked in places like this. One rich man changing his tone could alter the atmosphere of an entire room. Finally, she walked slowly toward table 12 and stopped beside the empty chair across from him. 5 minutes, she said. Marcus gave a small nod. Fair. Anna sat carefully while several nearby guests openly stared now. The manager looked moments away from fainting entirely. Marcus ignored all of them. What made you do it? He asked quietly. Anna folded her hands together loosely near the edge of the table. Do what? Humiliate him publicly. Anna looked toward Ethan still cleaning broken glass near the kitchen entrance. Because nobody else was going to stop him. Marcus studied her expression carefully. No pride. No performance. She genuinely believed she had done the right thing. You could lose your job. Anna gave the faintest shrug. People lose worse things every day. The answer lingered between them while rain continued sliding down the tall windows outside. Marcus noticed the old silver necklace near her collarbone again. Worn edges. Tiny scratches. Important enough to survive years of use. You speak like someone older than 26, he observed quietly. Anna's eyes narrowed slightly. And you observe waitresses more closely than most billionaires. A faint smile almost touched Marcus's mouth before disappearing again. You know who I am. Everyone here does. And yet you are not afraid of me. Anna looked directly into his eyes now. Fear is expensive, she said softly. I stopped being able to afford it a long time ago. For the first time all evening, Marcus had no immediate response. Something about the sentence landed deeper than he expected. Across the restaurant, conversations slowly resumed again, though quieter now. The tension remained hanging beneath the music and soft candlelight. You think I enjoy intimidating people, Marcus said after a moment. Anna tilted her head slightly. Do you? Marcus glanced down toward his untouched dinner. No. Then why do it? He looked toward the rain outside before answering. Because when you spend enough years around people pretending to respect you, eventually you stop knowing what sincerity sounds like. Anna watched him silently. There it was. Not arrogance. Loneliness. Hidden carefully beneath expensive watches and controlled expressions. She recognized it immediately because she carried her own version of it too. Marcus looked back toward her slowly. You are different from everyone else in this restaurant. Anna's voice remained calm. That is usually not a compliment. Tonight it is. The words settled softly between them while thunder rolled quietly above Manhattan. Then Ethan approached the table hesitantly, still pale from embarrassment. Miss Whitmore, he whispered nervously. Thank you. Anna smiled faintly for the first time all evening. Small. Genuine. Marcus noticed how completely it changed her face beneath the chandelier light. And in that moment, the most powerful man in the restaurant realized something dangerous. The waitress sitting across from him was the first person in years who made him feel smaller in the best possible way. The restaurant never fully recovered from what happened. Even 20 minutes later, conversations remained softer beneath the chandelier lights, as though everyone inside Le Bernard understood they had witnessed something unusual. Not the plate. Not the argument. Those things happened in wealthy places more often than people admitted. What unsettled them was Marcus Blackwood himself, because the man feared by employees across Manhattan had defended a waitress instead of humiliating her. Anna Whitmore stood near the coffee station polishing silverware with slow, controlled movements while trying to ignore the eyes following her across the room. Sarah approached carefully carrying 2 wine glasses against her chest. You realize you are becoming a legend tonight, she whispered. Anna did not look up. Legends usually end badly. Sarah lowered her voice further. The manager has been pacing in his office for 10 minutes. Anna finally glanced toward the dark office windows overlooking the dining room. Is he angry? Terrified? Anna almost smiled at that. Across the restaurant, Marcus remained seated alone at table 12. His dinner had gone cold long ago, untouched beneath the soft candlelight. Yet he made no effort to leave. Every few minutes, his eyes drifted back toward Anna almost unconsciously, observing her, trying to understand her. Anna felt it every time. You should go home, Sarah whispered carefully, before he changes his mind. Anna folded the final linen napkin neatly onto the counter. Men like Marcus Blackwood do not change their minds. Exactly. Before Anna could answer, the manager suddenly appeared beside them, breathing slightly too fast. Miss Whitmore, he said nervously. Mr. Blackwood would like another coffee. Sarah stared at him in disbelief. That is why you look like you saw a ghost? The manager ignored her completely. His eyes remained fixed on Anna. Please just bring the coffee. Anna took the cup silently and walked toward table 12 once more. Rain continued sliding down the tall windows outside, while distant city lights shimmered across wet Manhattan streets. Marcus looked up as she approached. Black coffee, she said softly while setting the cup onto the table. No sugar. Marcus glanced toward the coffee, then back toward her. You remembered. You seem like someone who stopped enjoying sweet things a long time ago. The sentence slipped out before she could stop it. Marcus leaned back slowly, studying her face again beneath the warm restaurant lighting. You always speak this honestly? Anna crossed her arms lightly. Only when people deserve it. A faint smile touched his mouth briefly. Real this time. Not practiced. Not cold. Sit down again. Anna hesitated. Mr. Blackwood. Marcus. She looked unconvinced immediately. That feels dangerous. Why? Anna glanced around the restaurant quietly. Because powerful men usually become kind only when they want something. The honesty in her voice erased the smile from his face instantly. Marcus lowered his eyes toward the coffee cup between his hands. And what do you think I want? Anna considered the question carefully before answering. I think you are lonely. Silence settled heavily across the table. Not angry silence. Something deeper. Marcus stared at her for several seconds while soft piano music drifted through the dining room again. Nobody had ever said that to him directly before. Not friends. Not business partners. Certainly not strangers. Because loneliness looked different on wealthy men. It wore tailored suits and expensive watches. It sat in penthouses overlooking Central Park while pretending success solved everything. Marcus exhaled quietly through his nose. You make dangerous observations for someone working minimum wage. Anna's blue eyes held his steadily. And you hide exhaustion behind expensive cufflinks. Another silence. Longer this time. But somehow easier. Across the room, Sarah watched the interaction with growing disbelief. The entire energy around Marcus Blackwood had changed tonight. Softer somehow. Less guarded. Anna noticed it too. And that frightened her more than his anger ever could. Cold men were predictable. But wounded men carried storms inside them. Marcus lifted the coffee cup slowly before speaking again. Tell me something honestly, Anna. The sound of her first name in his voice unsettled her unexpectedly. What? Marcus looked directly into her eyes beneath the golden chandelier light. Why does it feel like you hated men with money long before you ever met me? Anna's fingers tightened instantly around the silver necklace resting near her collarbone. And just like that, the warmth between them disappeared. Anna's fingers remained wrapped tightly around the silver necklace near her collarbone long after Marcus finished speaking. The warmth that had briefly existed between them vanished beneath the weight of his question. Around them, Le Bernard slowly returned to normal. Wine glasses clinked softly again. Low conversations drifted beneath the chandeliers. The piano resumed its quiet melody near the staircase. But at table 12, the air still felt heavy. Marcus noticed the change in Anna immediately. Her shoulders stiffened almost invisibly. Her expression cooled. The guarded version of her had returned. You do not have to answer, he said quietly. Anna gave a faint smile without warmth. That is usually what people say after asking the question anyway. Marcus looked down briefly at the untouched coffee between them. Fair. Rain slid slowly down the tall windows overlooking Manhattan, while headlights shimmered across wet streets outside. Anna stared toward the storm for several silent seconds before speaking again. My father used to believe honesty mattered, she said softly. Marcus listened carefully without interrupting. He worked maintenance for a pharmaceutical company in Brooklyn when I was younger. Anna's eyes remained fixed on the rain outside. One night he discovered internal reports hidden from the public. Dangerous side effects. Patients getting sick. People dying quietly while executives protected profits. Marcus's expression shifted slightly. Not visibly enough for most people to notice. But Anna noticed everything. He reported it, she continued. First internally, then publicly after nobody listened. Marcus leaned back slowly in his chair. Somewhere deep inside him, a distant memory stirred uneasily. Anna's fingers tightened around the necklace again. The company buried him in lawsuits until we lost almost everything. Our apartment, his health, my college tuition. Her voice never broke. Somehow that made the story hurt more. And the people responsible? Marcus asked quietly. Anna looked toward him for the first time since beginning the story. They kept getting richer. Silence settled heavily between them. Marcus felt something uncomfortable press against his chest now. Recognition. Not complete yet. Just fragments. Old headlines. Corporate meetings. Investment discussions years ago he barely remembered anymore. What was the company called? He asked carefully. Anna hesitated. For the first time all evening uncertainty crossed her face. Like speaking the name itself still carried weight after all these years. Wexler Biotech. Marcus froze. Completely this time. Anna noticed it immediately. His posture changed first. Then his eyes. The calm billionaire sitting across from her suddenly looked like a man who had opened the wrong door inside his own memory. You know it, she said quietly. Marcus lowered his gaze toward the table. 10 years ago, before Blackwood Capital became one of the largest investment firms in New York, Marcus briefly worked with investors connected to Wexler Biotech. He remembered emergency meetings. Panicked executives. Lawyers speaking in carefully polished language about minimizing exposure. At the time Marcus was young, ambitious, obsessed with growth. He never looked deeper than numbers. Marcus. His name sounded strange in Anna's voice now. Softer. More dangerous. He finally looked back at her slowly. I invested in one of their partner firms years ago, he admitted. Anna's expression hardened instantly. There it was. Confirmation. Another wealthy man connected to the same world that destroyed her father while pretending innocence afterward. Marcus saw the disappointment move across her face before she even spoke. Of course you did, she whispered. The sentence landed harder than anger would have. Marcus exhaled quietly through his nose. I did not know what they were hiding. Anna almost laughed then, though no humor reached her eyes. That is the problem with powerful people, she said softly. You always have the luxury of not knowing. Marcus had no answer for that. Because part of him understood she was right. Wealth insulated people from consequences. From details. From pain happening beneath boardroom tables and investment reports. Across the restaurant, Sarah watched nervously from the bar while pretending not to stare. She could feel the tension from across the room now. Marcus looked down at his hands resting near the coffee cup. For the first time in years they did not feel steady. What was your father's name? He asked quietly. Anna hesitated again before answering. Thomas Whitmore. Marcus's face changed instantly. Real shock this time. Because suddenly he remembered a tired man standing near the back of a conference room holding a folder against his chest, while executives ignored him completely. A man wearing a faded blue jacket who kept saying patients deserved honesty. Marcus looked up slowly toward Anna beneath the chandelier light while thunder rolled softly outside. And in that moment, he realized the waitress sitting across from him was connected to a mistake he had spent 10 years pretending to forget. Marcus Blackwood could not stop staring at Anna Whitmore after she spoke her father's name. Thomas Whitmore. The memory returned slowly at first, then all at once. A tired man standing near the back of a crowded conference room nearly 10 years earlier. Blue maintenance jacket. Rain on his shoulders. A folder clutched tightly against his chest while executives avoided looking directly at him. Marcus remembered the man because he had not sounded angry. Only disappointed. Patients deserve honesty, Thomas Whitmore had said quietly while lawyers whispered around him and board members checked their watches impatiently. Marcus had forgotten the meeting by the next morning. But Anna never had the luxury of forgetting what came after. The silence between them felt different now. Heavier. More honest. Anna watched Marcus carefully across the candlelit table, while soft piano music drifted through the nearly empty restaurant. You remember him, she said softly. Marcus nodded once. Slow. Ashamed. I should have listened more closely. Anna looked down briefly at the silver necklace resting near her collarbone. Most powerful people hear pain like background noise. The sentence cut deeper because she spoke it without anger. Just truth. Marcus glanced toward the rain outside. Manhattan glittered beyond the windows in blurred reflections and cold light. Your father was trying to protect people, he said quietly. And nobody protected him. Anna swallowed once before answering. No, her voice finally cracked slightly around the word. Barely noticeable. But Marcus noticed. He died believing honesty made him a fool. Marcus lowered his eyes toward his hands. For years he had built an empire convincing himself that survival mattered more than conscience. Numbers, growth, strategy, distance. Those things made success easier to carry. But sitting across from Anna Whitmore now, the distance disappeared completely. Suddenly the damage had a face. Blue eyes, quiet dignity, exhaustion hidden beneath calmness. Marcus reached slowly into the inside pocket of his coat. Anna's expression hardened immediately again. Another wealthy man preparing to ease guilt with money. Marcus noticed the reaction instantly. Instead of cash, he placed a simple black business card onto the table between them. Anna frowned slightly. Blackwood Foundation Legal Recovery Division. What is this? She asked carefully. Marcus leaned back slightly in his chair. 3 years ago I started funding legal support for families destroyed by corporate negligence. Anna looked unconvinced. Why? Marcus considered the question honestly before answering. Because eventually you realize success means very little if your reflection becomes impossible to respect. Anna stared at him silently while candlelight flickered softly between them. Somewhere in the restaurant, glasses clinked quietly while employees finished late-night cleanup. You expect me to believe guilt turned a billionaire generous? She asked softly. Marcus almost smiled. No, then what? He looked directly into her eyes. I think your father was the first honest man I ever ignored. The words settled heavily into the silence around them. Anna looked away first. Outside, the storm had finally begun fading over Manhattan. Rain slowed against the windows while distant traffic lights reflected across wet streets below. Marcus stood slowly from the table and adjusted the cuff of his charcoal jacket. You are leaving? Anna asked quietly. Marcus nodded once. I have already taken enough of your night. He placed several folded bills beneath the untouched coffee cup before reaching for his coat. Anna noticed the amount immediately. Far too much. I do not want your money, she said firmly. Marcus looked toward her one final time beneath the warm chandelier light. That is exactly why you deserve respect. Anna held his gaze silently. For the first time all evening, neither of them seemed interested in winning the conversation anymore. Marcus slipped on his overcoat while employees discreetly watched from across the restaurant. Nobody spoke. Nobody interrupted. Even the manager remained silent near the kitchen doors. Marcus paused beside the exit before turning back slightly toward Anna. Your father was right, he said quietly. And I was not the man I should have been. Anna's fingers tightened around the silver necklace again. Marcus gave the smallest nod before stepping outside into the cold Manhattan night. Rain touched his face immediately while taxi lights blurred across the empty street. Through the glowing restaurant windows behind him, he could still see Anna Whitmore standing alone beneath the chandeliers. Calm, distant, untouchable in a way money could never change. Marcus remained there for several seconds watching her through the glass before finally walking away into the rain. And inside Lou Bernard, Anna slowly picked up the black business card from the table while realizing something unexpected. The most powerful apology she had ever received contained no excuses at all.